January 25th, Persian Gulf entrance. For 17 p.m. local time, at the narrow gateway between the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf, a U.S. Navy carrier strike group advances northbound through one of the most strategically sensitive choke points on Earth. At its center is USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier measuring 332.8 meters in length, displacing approximately 100,000 tons at full load, and powered by two A4W nuclear reactors capable of sustaining speeds exceeding 30 knots for decades without refueling. Replacement cost is estimated between 13 and 15 billion US dollars, excluding the embarked air wing. This is not just a warship. This is a physical expression of American power projection, carrying nearly 90 aircraft, supported by thousands of sailors and Marines, and defended by layered missile, air, and electronic warfare systems designed to survive exactly the kind of moment that is about to unfold. Control of the Persian Gulf underpins global energy markets, alliance credibility, and freedom of navigation doctrine. What happens here reverberates far beyond these waters. Subscribe, Iranian state media and later unofficial accounts claim that, at this moment, multiple launch authorizations are transmitted across coastal Revolutionary Guard units positioned near the Strait of Hormuz. According to these claims, the decision is framed as a defensive response to the arrival of what Iranian leadership publicly described days earlier as an American Armada. Independent verification of this authorization does not exist. However, Iranian coastal missile deployments in this region are well documented. Analysis suggests Iranian planners view the strait, approximately 21 nautical miles wide, at its narrowest point, as the optimal location for a saturation attack. The assumption is mathematical. Overwhelm defensive systems with volume. The assumption collapses if defenses hold. For 17 p.m., unverified Iranian accounts assert that 44 anti-ship missiles are launched from 7 geographically dispersed sites. Reported systems include variants resembling the Nor or C-802 class, with estimated ranges of 120 kilometers, sea-skimming terminal profiles, and subsonic speeds around Mach 0.8. Unit cost is estimated between $1 and $2 million per missile. These claims remain unconfirmed by U.S. or allied sources, but such inventories are known to exist within Iran's coastal forces. Flight time at maximum range would be approximately 90 seconds. What follows is not controlled by intent, but by physics and reaction time. For 17 p.m., within seconds, all ships in the strike group detect multiple inbound tracks. This detection capability is factual. Aegis combat system, equipped vessels, including Ticonderoga-class cruisers and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, use SPY-1 or newer radar variants capable of tracking hundreds of targets simultaneously. Exact radar models and detection ranges involved in this scenario remain classified. General quarters procedures will be automatic. Human decision-making windows compressed to seconds. For 17 p.m., the strike group composition at this time is publicly verifiable in general terms, though exact ship presence varies by deployment. A typical configuration includes a carrier, 1 cruiser, multiple destroyers, and often allied escorts. Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyers regularly operate alongside U.S. carrier groups. However, any claim of Japanese offensive missile launches remains unverified and should be treated as speculative. Each Arleigh Burke-class destroyer displaces approximately 9,700 tons, costs roughly $1.8 billion per hull, and carries 90 to 96 vertical launch cells loaded with standard missile interceptors, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and other munitions. For 17 p.m., according to Iranian narratives, all inbound missiles are targeted primarily on the carrier. Strategically, this aligns with doctrine. A carrier kill would represent not just tactical success, but psychological and political shock. The mathematics are unforgiving. Thousands of lives would be at risk. What Iranian planners could not know is the density of overlapping defensive layers already active. For 17 p.m., carrier air wings routinely maintain combat air patrols, F/A-180/F Super Hornets, each costing approximately $70 million, operate at speeds exceeding Mach 1.8, armed with AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles with ranges exceeding 100 kilometers under optimal conditions. Intercepting sea-skimming missiles with air-to-air weapons is technically possible but challenging and publicly documented only in limited exercises. Claims that airborne fighters engage multiple anti-ship missiles in this incident are unverified but plausible within current U.S. Navy training doctrine. 4:18 p.m. Unverified timelines state that long-range standard missile interceptors are launched first. SM-6 interceptors cost approximately $4.3 million per unit and are capable of engaging both aircraft and cruise missiles at extended ranges. SM-2 missiles, costing roughly $2.5 million each, form a backbone of mid-range naval air defense. The cost ratio, if true, favors defense. Tens of millions in interceptors versus the loss of a multi-billion-dollar capital ship. 4:18 p.m. Iranian sources claim multiple missiles are destroyed at distances between 40 and 20 kilometers from the strike group. These ranges align with known engagement envelopes, though kill counts remain unconfirmed. Radar clutter, sea state, and electronic countermeasures all affect outcomes. The window is closing. Anything that survives into the inner defensive ring threatens catastrophic consequences. 4:18 p.m. Point defense systems would now come into play. Rolling airframe missiles, costing approximately $900,000 per round, are designed for close-in engagements. Phalanx CIWS systems fire 20 mm rounds at rates exceeding 4,500 rounds per minute per mount. Combined fire from multiple ships creates overlapping steel barriers measured in thousands of rounds per second. Claims that the final inbound missile is destroyed within 1 kilometer of the carrier remain unverified, but the system capabilities exist. 4:18 p.m. According to scenario presented, all 44 inbound missiles are neutralized. No independent confirmation supports this exact figure, but U.S. Navy doctrine emphasizes near-perfect defense in layered engagements. Even a single leaker would be unacceptable. At this moment, the immediate tactical threat is over. Strategically, the decision point is already passed. 4:17 p.m. to 4:18 p.m. Multiple sources agree on one principle. U.S. rules of engagement allow immediate retaliation against confirmed hostile launch sites. The moment missiles are fired, authorization frameworks activate. Claims of a pre-approved strike package targeting Iranian coastal infrastructure remain speculative but align with established contingency planning. 4:20 p.m. Unverified reports assert that electronic warfare aircraft suppress Iranian radar and surface-to-air missile systems. EA-1AG Growlers are specifically designed for this role, carrying jamming pods and AGM-88 HARM missiles costing approximately $300,000 per unit. Destruction of radar nodes would blind coastal defenses. Physics does not negotiate. Without radar, missiles cannot be guided, and air defenses collapse into isolated fragments. 4:22 p.m. Claims describe simultaneous strikes against multiple Iranian coastal missile batteries. Precision-guided glide bombs, such as AGM-154, cost approximately $500,000 each and can be launched from standoff ranges exceeding 100 kilometers. Penetration and blast effects depend on variant and target hardening. Iranian missile launchers are typically mobile but require fixed support infrastructure. Destruction of command vehicles and ammunition storage would render sites inoperable even if launchers survived. 4:27 p.m. Deeper strikes against command facilities and production infrastructure are alleged. Facilities linked to missile manufacturing and Revolutionary Guard command functions do exist, but casualty figures cited in the transcript are not independently verified and should be treated as estimates at best. Manufacturing replacement timelines for precision munitions are measured in months or years, not days. This is where strategic damage outweighs immediate destruction. 4:29 p.m. Claims of Japanese destroyers launching offensive cruise missiles represent the most disputed element of the scenario. Japan possesses advanced Aegis destroyers, but constitutional and doctrinal constraints make such actions extraordinary. No confirmation supports this event. If hypothetical, its strategic implication is alliance escalation and shared burden signaling. Credibility becomes the most costly loss if alliances fracture or overextend. 4:35 p.m. Secondary strikes against fuel depots, ammunition storage, and training facilities are claimed. Such targets are consistent with U.S. doctrine aimed at degrading regeneration capability. Fuel infrastructure is particularly vulnerable. Without fuel, missiles and boats are inert assets. Smoke visible from space is plausible but unconfirmed. 4:50 p.m., 33 minutes after the initial claim launch. The scenario concludes with Iranian coastal defense networks allegedly dismantled. The cost exchange, if taken at face value, is stark. Hundreds of millions in U.S. munitions versus billions in destroyed infrastructure and long-term capability loss. No Allied casualties are reported in the claim. Such outcomes are rare but not impossible in asymmetric exchanges dominated by air and missile power. This scenario, while unverified in its specifics, illustrates modern naval warfare's central truth. Saturation attacks test systems, not ships. The defender wins if integration holds. The attacker wins only if coordination is flawless. Carriers are no longer defended by a single layer, but by nested systems spanning space, air, sea, and cyber domains. The assumption that volume alone guarantees success collapses under integrated command and control. If this engagement occurred as described, it would not merely represent a tactical defense, but a strategic message. The carrier strike group would remain a viable instrument of coercion, deterrence, and reassurance. The lesson would be institutional, not emotional. Preparation, integration, and speed decide outcomes long before the first missile flies. What the scenario represents is not inevitability, but warning. Modern warfare offers no margin for error once the trigger is pulled. Now I want to hear from you. If such an exchange occurred, would it stabilize deterrence or accelerate escalation in the Persian Gulf? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more in-depth analysis.